Let's take a look at how we can use NewspaperSource to find information about our topic, childhood obesity. Let's just start with a really basic and really broad search and just type in the terms in the box. And this gives us 4,417 results, which is too many really for us to deal with. It's a little overwhelming. But if we look over here on the left, we have several different ways that we can narrow our search and arrange our search. We can decide whether we would just want things that are available in full text, which would be handy if we're trying to access this from home, or if we want to make sure that it's something that we can actually obtain. We know we can get that from our computer right from home. And let's make it things a little bit more recent. Just scoot this little thing over here. That's a little bit better, still too many. If we click on this area over here, we can choose specific publications. Let's try USA Today. Update that. And that brings us 79, which is not an unmanageable number to sort through. We can also look up here and we can have it sorted with the most recent ones first and scroll through those. Another thing we can do when we start out is use the advanced search, and we have a lot of different ways to look at our topic. We might want articles with some sort of graphic or picture. We can ask the database to search for just certain kinds of documents. Maybe an article, editorial, poem, recipe, several different forms. If there's an article that you saw somewhere and would like to find it specifically, and you kind of know when you saw it, you can use these to narrow it down. You can also use a Boolean search, which is going to use and, or not to tell the database how to look for your information. For example, if we put in childhood obesity and prevention, I've already typed that in earlier, so it popped right up. That is going to look for childhood obesity and prevention, both of those together in some place in an article in the database. Let's try that. And it gives us 228, which is fairly manageable, but again, we can narrow it by the publication, by the date, full text. We just want scholarly journals or cover stories. It gives us those options. And again, we can go over here and decide whether to start with the most recent or the oldest, or whichever one you like. If we go back to the advanced search, we could say something like, we could change it to childhood obesity, not prevention. And that's going to exclude any articles that mention prevention. And that doesn't help us narrow it down at all. And it also seems to bring up some that do mention prevention, so that's probably not the best way to search for this particular topic. Another way that you can use the Boolean search is with or, but that is not a good way necessarily to narrow it. As you see, we got 59,145 results because it's going to look for things that have either this term on the left or this term on the right. So that's something that you would search if you're not getting enough hits. So that's not our problem with this particular one. Another option with the newspaper source database is the visual search. And I'm going to go back and change this to "and" prevention, because that gave us a more narrow window. And the visual search arranges things in a different format that you might prefer. Up here, it gives us some of our groupings. Got Michelle Obama, and she's got an article referring to her in the New York Times, so that might be interesting. Let's see what happens if we look at United States. That produces more New York Times and these results here. We can sort again, we can filter by date, and we can change our arrangement. That's our columns, that's our block. So this is kind of just a different way of presenting the material. Let's go back to our start page here, and let's try, we're just going to do newspaper, and let's try editorial just to see how that works, and leave it open otherwise. And we didn't find anything on editorials, so let's undo that and just try article. See how that works. That gave us 12. Again, we see the First Lady. And various other types of articles. So the best way to work with NewspaperSource and really a lot of the databases is just to play around with it, to try different ways of searching and see how it works, get a feel for it. But just be aware that you do have lots of options here and on the advanced search for narrowing when you get too many hits. And let's go ahead and close this one down.